I'm John Cooksey. I'm 62 years old, 61 years old. I play drums, and I was born in New York. I grew up in the projects and kind of like in a protective community there when we were growing up. The projects are kind of bad now, but back when we were growing up, they were a protected environment for us. We didn't go off the grounds. We stayed in the big park and played ball and baseball, and my friends were basically in the projects. I didn't even know I was poor, until I got older. I found out I was poor. When we were growing up, we made it. I didn't go to bed hungry any night. So, what it was like was, it was a family situation. I grew up with my two sisters above me, and my father was a merchant marine, so he was home 6 months out of the year, so it was basically my mother raising the three children. Was I ever influenced by drugs, crime, and environment? Yes and no. I'll put it this way. I grew up in the era when drugs were just coming in, hard drugs. Alcohol was always there, and because it was legal, we had a lot of people drinking at the time. But people went to work. It wasn't like alcohol consumed their lives.
Yeah.
We had a couple of people who we call winos who would drink on the weekend, but Monday morning they would get up and go to work and earn a living for their family. The drugs, it didn't come in till late. I think I was about 12, 13 years old when I first started seeing people, drug addicts, on the corner. But it didn't affect us until I got into high school, and then I started seeing people started offering me. At first, I wouldn't mess with it, and then trying to experiment, being at this stage in my life, wanting to be accepted. I started trying different drugs, reefer, and then it went into sniffing heroin, and it just, that's where, the influence of others came into my life, because at first it was just about playing ball, playing drums, having a good time with your friends, then going to parties and stuff. But then all that became a part of the party.
Me and John go back to like 1972, and I was playing with Roy Ayers, and he was playing with Nick Ashton and Bobby Simpson. So he invited me down to the bottom line to see him play with Ashton and Simpson, and from that day on we became good friends. And he used to have an old was it an Oldsmobile? And we used to ride around in that thing. He used to have a little studio on 125th Street. And we went through all the bad things, all the good things. I remember one time we used to all we all had our problems with the drug life.
Yeah.
And I went uptown one day to cop some drugs, and I'm standing in line at this drug place on my street where I live now. And I turned around, and John's behind me. And I'm like, what the fuck you doing? He said, what are you doing here? I said, I guess it's the same thing. So,
Well, for a major part of my life, it was very disruptive. It wasn't until I finally realized that drugs started deterring me from my childhood dream, and all my goals and inspirations were robbed from me, that I knew I needed help. But that part of my life is behind me now, but while I was going through it, it felt like I would never get out of it. And I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. But, we all have to go through experience in life. That's why I'm who I am today. The bottom line is that it took me a long time. It took a long time for me to really come to the decision that enough was enough. And each person has to reach their own bottom before they decide that they want something different, because we see it all the time. You got who's the little girl, Lindsay Lohan, and it has nothing to do with making money. Rick James, and a lot of great performers, even Michael Jackson. He was caught up in there, just a different level. Better drugs, but thank God I was able to finally arrest my demons.
I had heard of him, for like a long time. Actually, when I was still trying to play this, still learning how to play music, I've heard of John Cooksey. He was one of the drummers, one of the main cats back in the 70s and 80s. I was actually a bit intimidated when I actually first met him, and I don't exactly remember where it was. But I remember him being very, very cordial, very nice guy. I'm thinking, because you think that a guy that's playing was playing with, like as many people as he's played with, would have an ego, in a bad way. But very nice guy, very confident in himself.
What age did I start playing music? To tell the truth, I started when I was about like 7 years old with my sister. My sister was playing piano. She was going to a music teacher and learning. I'll never forget the guy's name, Mr. Jose. And my mother said, well, okay, Junie wants to play too. That was my nickname, Junie. Junebug. Anyway, they said he wants to play too, so they saw I was tinkling on the piano and everything. So they sent me, but he started hitting me on the fingers with the ruler, and I didn't like that. So I didn't continue. I changed to drums when the Beatles came out. I wanted to play drums, so I went to school. Well, really what happened was, when I was in junior high school, my teacher, they wanted, I guess they gave us an alternative. You play in the band or the orchestra, and I chose the band, and I started playing drums in the band, and I wanted to play trumpet, and the teacher told me my lips were too big. So he said, you get back in the back and get on those drums. And he put me on the drums. It was the best thing he could ever did for me. I mean, at first I was mad. I wanted to play what I wanted to play, but I guess he knew better. I ended up back in the drum section. I started on the bass drum because I didn't know how to hold the sticks. I didn't know all that. But I started liking. I actually started gravitating towards the drums, and I started going home and practicing. And I started seeing people on TV like the Beatles, and I loved the Young Rascals and all those kind of groups like that, where it was like a show type thing. Then I saw Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich and Louis Bellson. At that time, basically all the white drummers were on TV, so we didn't really get a chance to see the jazz drummers. The Elvin Joneses and the Max Roaches and the Papa Joe Jones, and the long list is a long list of drummers.
We met at St. Nick's Pub. It must have been 8 years ago or more. And we played our gigs together. We literally found a nice grooves together. I think one night first night we played, I think we got a nice compliment from Olu Dara. I know your pop remembers it too. We played in the end. We struck a nice groove, and Olu came up and said something about it. So we were like, okay, that's a nice way to start off.
He's a very good drummer, and nowadays, surprisingly, that's kind of rare. He's got what I call the art of drumming down, because a lot of guys have a lot of technique, and they can play a lot of super stuff, but they don't have the art of drumming down. Knowing where to put certain beats, how to set the band up, with fills and things like that, and breaks and all that stuff. Very few guys got that. And John Cooksey, I got to tell you, he's got the art of drumming down, and he has a lot of technique too. So I got to give that to him. But he knows he plays when it's necessary to play. He plays what's necessary, doesn't overplay. So it makes it a joy playing with him. It's very comfortable playing with him.
I didn't really do the history. I didn't really have anyone in my family that kind of like inspired me, beside my sister Gloria, who played the piano, and she was in front of me, and I kind of like followed suit with her. But basically, I'm self-taught, because the little bit I learned in school, you had to go home and apply it. If you didn't apply it, you wouldn't. So it was more so like the talent shows and singing on the stairwells with my friends and stuff. That's what kind of like made me develop into what I am today. Do I think that music pushed or pulled me away from bad influences? A little bit of both. My early years playing with different groups on the road, I kind of thought that being high helped me play. It kind of like gave me the courage to be on stage, but I didn't realize it really was a hindrance, because when you didn't have it, you didn't feel like you could actually perform. So in the way, it kind of hindered me in the beginning. Now I find I play much better, much more under control. It's a shame that you have to get old, because when I was young, I wasted all that all my youth experimenting, trying to find, instead of actually doing what you guys are doing, and that's pursuing your dream by, actually doing what you do best. At that time, drumming was what I was doing best. I also was doing a lot of writing and arranging with Patrick Adams, a lot of the disco stuff, and I'm on a lot of that stuff. I was one of the guys back in the day who actually were recording a lot of that stuff, and I don't even remember most of the stuff that I did, but if I would have been really focusing on, my craft, I think I'd been much better off.
I stayed at St. Nicholas Pub, and Cooksey, he was getting ready to retire, and he was trying to build a studio. So I said, Cooksey, you gotta get this, you gotta get a Mac computer, right? So he came to my house, and I had, before my son was born, I had a loft bed. I had one bedroom. Underneath my loft bed, I had a massive Yamaha kit, a big set on my bed. I had electronic drums. I had just bought the electronic kit, and Cooksey came in and saw my electronic kit. So he stopped me, put the headphones on. I'm in the living room watching TV. He's in the room practicing his ass off with the headphones on. I came back in the room. He was sweating his ass off. I said, man, I got to give you an electronic kit. So next thing you know, Cooksey got an electronic kit. So then he saw me how I was writing the music. Right? So Cooksey went, the next day I bought an iMac. I went and gave him a music program called Logic. Right? So I wanted to get the iMac too, the same exact computer as his. So he would call me up, yo, Dennis, how you do this on the computer program? I said, you got your computer? I said, let me turn mine on. Because I gave him the same program. I said, Cooksey, all right, go over here, do this, do that, do this. So Cooksey said, oh yeah, I got it. So, but I really got kind of upset at him because I said, Cooksey, if you don't have a studio in your house, you got to set it up properly, put the speakers up. You can't be taking it apart every day. You got to keep it set up. And being that you have the electronic drums, you can play your drums right into the computer. And I bet you to the day, he still doesn't have it set up right. I said, Cooksey, you got to set it up right, man.
musicians starting off, not limited to jazz or any genre at all, what words of advice would you give them?
Go to school. Learn the craft. If you really want to be an artist, a singer, musician, tap dancer, ballet artist, go to school. Learn the craft right. Learn from the masters. Learn what not to do, the pitfalls. Learn from somebody else's experience. Don't make the same mistake. Don't be insane.